All right.
Hello and welcome. Today we've got Peter Koller, who is a medical practitioner who wants to introduce quantum healing into his sessions. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to our Telegram channel and to nicholasfeniamin.com for my free email updates. And if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, I will leave the link below in the description for the full interview. Peter, thank you for joining me. If you could give us a little bit about your background into your medical profession, and then tell us how you got around learning about quantum healing, please.
Absolutely. I've been practicing medical professional since actually 88. I actually educated over in Europe, in Holland, as a matter of fact. And then I came back to the States, started my own practice. I've basically treated thousands of people. I've physical medicine or physical therapy. Then I have, over a course of about 12 years ago, 13 years ago, I had almost like a near-death experience where I came face to face with God, basically, and I decided at that moment I was going to put God in any way possible into the healing procedure, not really knowing how to do it. So I just basically started simple, sometimes just silent prayers when I would treat people or other things. And over the course of that next probably about 5 or 10 years, God took me through an educational process. And it wasn't an overnight kind of thing, but a day-to-day, almost one case at a time type study, showing what happens when we put God, or basically evaluate and treat people completely, holistically, in a mind, body, but most importantly, a spiritual basis. And so what I did is wrote a couple books. One of them is called Heal Yourself for God's Sake. And what that is was a tabulation of a lot of the different kinds of steps. For example, what happens when you use water, or what happens when you use light, or what happens when you use positive reinforcement, all these different things. And I saw miracles that it would occur. I mean, flat out miracles. So I wrote about it, and a lot of times I didn't really understand what to write. So I would just say, God, tell me, and he would show me. And so I would write it down. It's just, I'm one of those people that really believes you have not because you ask not. So you know what? I overuse that continuously to say, God, you said I have not because I ask not. I'm asking. And so I ask when I have a patient walk in the door and they say, I got this problem with my neck or my back. What can I do? I don't really know what to do. I say, just God, I ask God what to do. And he tells me, and I wrote that down in that book. And then about over the course of a little bit, maybe the last few years, I started asking God, well, how does it work? What does this mean? What does it mean when we gain vibration? All this talk about quantum ascension and increasing vibration is kind of in the mainstream right now. Well, what does that mean? Well, how do you gain your vibration? What does that vibration have an effect on a cellular level, or AKA on an atomic level? So he told me, and so I wrote it down. I wrote it down in another book called Quantum Ascension. That's more of a scientific or a quantum evaluation of what exactly happens in the ascension process and basically the healing process, which are both basically the same thing. And so there I, and then suddenly I found myself doing this on a one-to-one patient basis. But the more I did this, the more I injected God into the scenario, the more the deep state started fighting back, and they fought back hard. They basically closed my office. They took away my contracts. But it didn't matter. I keep treating people. I keep working for other people. I work one-on-one, and it was always a one-on-one kind of patient-to-patient basis. But over the course of about the last 6 months, I've gotten in contact with David Nino Rodriguez, and he has kind of introduced me to the world. So I'm telling everybody, it's like, hey, freely it was given to me, so freely I give it to others. That's the way it is.
Right. So when you say, you've seen miracles, could you give us an example of what type of experience?
So many. Well, so for example, I had, I had a lady come into my office one time, and this has happened long before I even started this this kind of thing. So this lady comes into my office, and she's actually related to me. And she had stepped off her horse. She was a heavy woman. And she basically stepped off her horse and put her foot down onto the ground. And as she missed the step, she broke her ankle, both the ankle bones, both of them. And basically her foot was like that, sideways. And, they went and operated on her and put plates and screws. So they had to put basically 2 plates and 4 screws on each side. So 8 screws, titanium screws. And then she comes to see me after about maybe a few weeks after she's starting to feel better, or at least and she's got an enormous amount of pain. Well, that's not surprising in a physical medicine situation, because when you walk, your feet, your ankle bones, they slide back and forth slightly as you put weight from the tibia and the fibula actually move a little bit down in the lower ankle there area, and then being fixated, that stopped from moving. So as she actually got better, her pain increased. So she was coming in to have me help her with pain. But what the problem was, the doctor told her that she was going to need to have eventually that hardware taken out because it was stopping her from moving. Her basic situation was that she didn't want to go back under the knife, because while she was being operated on, she died. And she knew, and she remembered it, and it scared her to death. So when I was working on her, she said, I can't go back. They told me if I'm not better, if the pain's not gone, they're not giving me any more pain pills. They're not giving me any more therapy. If it's not better by this Thursday, I'm going to have to go under the knife. I'm not doing it. She said, can you help me? I'm like, I'm trying to help you, but you're going to have those plates and screws removed. There's just no way around it. I want you to pray with me. Well, this was back when that was kind of like a no-no in the medical profession. You don't mix prayer with, they teach you that in school. Keep it out. But, so I said, all right, I'm not going to pray out loud, but if you want to pray, you go ahead and I'll just agree. Mm-hmm. And so I'm rubbing her foot and doing my thing. And she goes, I'm going to ask God that he will remove these plates and screws. Okay. So she goes to the doctor. She pops up after this prayer. She's like, oh, it feels good. Oh my God, it feels good. She started walking around the office. She goes, my God, I think it worked. I'm like, well, don't go too crazy before, we'll see how it is in a couple of days. She comes back a couple of days. She almost runs into the office. It still feels good. I feel good. I'm going to call the doctor and cancel. I said, well, before you do that, why don't you go to the doctor and tell him what you feel like and see if, maybe he'll just say, okay, just keep it, and this is going to be fine. Don't just cancel. So she goes, and I was kind of eager to hear what happened because, I was thinking, well, when you find out, you call me back because I want to know what happened. So she calls me up and she goes, you'll never guess what happened. I go, what? She goes, they took an x-ray. I go, what are you talking about? That the plates and screws disappeared? She goes, no. She said that when the doctor came in, his eyes were like this. What did you do? She goes, I did nothing. He goes, every titanium screw was cut in half. So basically, they were still there, but all the screws were severed down the middle. So she had full mobility and still the fixation.
Wow.
He said that the only way you could do that, he said, if they took 8 titanium screws and hooked 2 semis together and chucked it off the cliff, the only thing that wouldn't be broken were those screws. They're the hardest substance known other than diamonds. And yet for them to be severed in the middle was physically impossible. That's just one miracle I've seen. I've seen hundreds.
God works in mysterious ways, right?
Very much so. So what I started to do is ask him how, why, what is this process? And he showed me. And he showed me that it's important for people to relearn what is happening to them. It is not what we are told. It's not something that you have become, or it's something that invades your body, sicknesses, afflictions, infirmities, but they are, just as it is spoken of in the Bible, they are things that attack us from the outside. And knowing that gives us then the ability to adjust our vision, our spiritual vision, so that we can then fight. And only the truth, just the truth alone, is enough to scare away the intent of the darkness, that there's an intent on these attacks. For example, let's say you have some issues with your lower neck, your upper back. And that comes, it's not something that you have in you, but it's something that attacks you. You go to the doctor and he says, well, you've got arthritis. You got a spinal degenerative disc. And then you sit there and you believe this is something that you have now become. You cannot become something other than what God has created you to be, unless you choose yourself. So the lie actually convinces you to change your thinking to, basically, we are all created in the image of God. So we have the ability to become creators. We are creators of our own personal universes. So when you believe you have this, you do. But if you start to realize with real eyes that this is not something that I have, but it's something I've been attacked with, there is a cause, there is a origin, there is a malevolence behind it. Mm-hmm. And when you realize that and you turn that and you ask God, illuminate this for me so I can see it, he does. And that illumination, light causes darkness to flee. The malevolence of the curse is gone immediately. And I've seen that with patients. The minute they see that, and I've seen it in cancer, I've seen it in all sorts of different kinds of flu type comorbid, I call it comorbid so that you don't get zinged. In this baloney, mm-hmm. When they believe that it's in them, but the minute they say, no, this is an attack, these symptoms are only alarms. Our bodies, the symptoms, pain, etc., are alarm systems. There are our own God-given alarm systems that we need to embrace and not be afraid of. Oh, I got to be afraid of pain in my back. Ooh. No, you've got to, and not numb it down. You don't numb your pain. No, what you do is you ask it, what is it trying to tell you? So that way you can put your eyes on the real cause, and that illumination, then immediately the malevolence is driven away, and all you're left with is that little shell of physicality. See, we're taught that the physical is everything. Mm-hmm. And the mental, it can control mind over mind. If you exercise it, you can control your body. But the spirit, that's that little thing in your heart, that little guy that sits on your shoulder just speaking. That's bullshit. It's the opposite. The physical is momentary, small in space, linked to time and matter, that the moment we speak this, it's already in the past. And by the time your brain is aware of what I just said, that's already an event in the past that we've moved to another particular place. And in quantum ascension, what I do is I take quantum mechanics and I identify and show people how significantly small the physical is. And one of the examples I used when I was talking to David, I've studied quantum mechanics, that if you took a basketball size proton and you put it in Chicago, the first electron would be the size of a ping pong ball, and it would be in St. Louis, about 600 miles away. So a basketball piece of matter, which is not, the proton is not actually all solid. It's actually a sound bouncing around inside, but that's string theory. We don't even need to get it. So basically, it's so insignificantly small, like a basketball, that it could hold in its orbit a ping pong ball 600 miles away. Ridiculous, but true. The space in between is the spirit. That's where God resides. And that's where our consciousness resides. And it's that area that has the power. The physical is a small little dot. The experiential is like a Library of Congress.
Mm-hmm.
The spirit is everything else.
So that space, that empty space is not just empty space, it's filled with energy and frequency.
It is filled with God's energy. Absolutely. It has to be.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, what holds those two entities, those two small pieces of sound together? The force, you call it whatever you want, but it is God. And we are created in the image of God. So basically, that energy, that force in between. And when you apply the same proportions, small body, greater experiential, and massive belief to the healing process, your results are absolute. Impossibilities become possible because in the spirit realm, especially if you drive out the malevolence, now all you're left is the good.
Mm-hmm.
It's the good. That's the whole basis of it.
Wow. So when we get ill, you're saying that's...
We don't get ill. We are attacked.
We're attacked.
Okay. The primary... That's
what I was going to ask. So when we get ill, we're actually being attacked.
We are being attacked. There is a momentary malevolent attack, and then our body reacts. That's the symptoms. We feel it. But we know.
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, what if we're full of love and we're positive and we like to, we know how to manifest, and we're always in a love frequency. We're always happy, Yeah. Does that stop the illnesses from, attacking us?
It doesn't stop it from attacking, but it stops it from being successful.
Right.
See, the higher vibration. Okay. I love to use an example. You're obviously a believer. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm a believer myself. I wasn't a devout Christian Catholic. I was raised early on Catholic, later became more of a evangelical Christian study, but I didn't even really, I used to just go there for the girls and, that kind of fun parties on Wednesday night, Yeah. Other than that, it was like, whatever. But one of the things that I did, I always kind of was interested in, it was St. Francis. Interesting thing about St. Francis was that it was known, and it is basically, it is history. It is chronologically, and it's also documented historical fact that St. Francis, they treated and cared for thousands of lepers in a time when there was no cure for leprosy. As a matter of fact, to touch a leper was absolute doom. You were going to get it. There was no way around it. Even they would burn entire villages if a leper happened to live in one of those little houses. Okay? Yet none of he nor any of his followers contracted leprosy, even though they treated, touched, handled, opened their church, allow people to come in. Why? The same reason you just said. When you, not only do you sit at a higher vibration, you actually rise up and see this stuff for what it really is. It's like crawling out of the valley. And in the valley, when you're in the valley, when patients, that's the whole diminishing thing that happens with people, patients, this comorbid, all this stuff, the attacks, they're designed to push you down. All the medications, they have a dumbing effect on the spirit. Just talk to anybody who's on heavy doses of endocarditis medications, very high antibiotics, or any of the antipsychotic drugs. I mean, it doesn't matter which one you pick. They all have the same numbing effect. Sleeping pills, numbing effect. Anti-anxiety pills, numbing effect. So you feel like you're in a sleeping bag. Ask anybody who's taken them. They'll tell you all the same thing. You feel like there's a sleeping bag over your head, that keeps you kind of like almost like you're drunk. It's like your awareness, suddenly it's like you're in a fishbowl. I can't really feel what's going on. That pushes down into the physicality. It basically allows you to concentrate on your little toe that's sore without being able to get in touch with the real issue, the spiritual side of it, the malevolent side. But when you raise your truths, when you raise your vibration, as you're talking about, full of love, full of spirituality, taking on truths, not just hearing them, but making them a part of yourself. How? By passing them on to others. That's how you become. You don't just take the vibrations in, you've got to pass them on. It has to move. It has to move through. Okay. You have to pass on those gifts, share with your neighbor. You don't cross the road. You reach out and pick up the man out of the trench. You don't just walk by and say, well, I'm glad I'm not you. Right. You're fallen.
So go on, please.
So when you are in the valley, when you're hurt in the valley, low vibration, everything around you that is attacking is readily, you can't see it till it literally attacks. But when you climb out of the valley, when you start bringing these truths in, when you fill yourself with love and truth, like you said, now you can see what's going on. And so seeing it allows you to be ready when it's trying to attack. Mm-hmm. And that way you can just say, no, I'm not playing. You put your attention on it. God's truth is put on it. And the attack, you don't stop the attacks by becoming higher. You stop the effectiveness of the attacks. They no longer can attack you. Okay. You don't have to worry about the comorbid because it is just a malevolent spirit along with some plan. Okay. We're not denying that they created this thing in some lab, but their plan cannot work unless it's delivered by the spirits. And if you know what's going on, it's impossible for that to affect you.
That's why all of the viewers are lovely and healthy, because we're aware. We've got one foot out of the matrix, trying to get the other one out, And
it's so important that people become aware that this stuff that they're told they have is the lie. 30 years ago, 35 years ago, I was taught that we had heart attacks, that we would overcome sicknesses. Now we are told we become them. And that's the lie. You can't be, then come. Being something, but I'm coming to that place. That's what they want. They want you to become. You need to overcome. So you go over it like you step over a crack in a sidewalk. So
because we're made in the same image as God, which means our energy, our soul, is the same fabric as God. We're able to create like he is, and the deep state are using us subconsciously to create for them so we can cause disruption on their behalf. But we have to you're saying that we have to be aware of this, come into our truths, because we can tackle these attacks to become ineffective.
Yeah, they have basically used the media, educational system, the pharmaceutical system, even our food, even our governments, to basically brainwash us or to educate us in a thought pattern that basically enslaves us, that has basically told us that this is what you are. And it was a systematic kind of, I saw it happen over the course of 35 years. It steadily got worse and worse in my own practice of medicine. You know, it used to be people come in and you'd evaluate them, and they demanded that you would try to figure out what the cause was. Over the course of time, they started wanting you to not only put a number, put a label, put a diagnosis code on somebody so that it would basically pinpoint, but also minimalize to what's wrong, what's going on with them, to a specific thing that they have, labeling them. Okay. The problem was with that label, once the diagnosis code was given, you couldn't deviate from what the prescribed authorized treatment was that they wanted you to give. So one perfect example, we were taught in physical therapy in Europe that if you have two-sided carpal tunnel, two-sided, it always comes from the neck, always. If it's one side, you could, screw in, you're an electrician, you overdo it. Okay, you could have it on one. But if it's two sides, especially if it's spontaneous, it was from the neck. Well, at first, I would evaluate people when it was two-sided, call the insurance guy, want to treat the neck. They say, okay, great, fine. Later, they say, nah, stick with the hands. We don't want you messing with the neck. Ultimately, they said, stop with the neck. If you do it, we'll cut you off from treating the patient. Later on, they just said, we don't want you treating our people at all. As a matter of fact, if they go to see you, we're going to threaten them and tell them we're going to take their insurance away for going to see you. I've had that. It's so bad. See, they don't want the cause treated. They want the symptom treated because they want people to be in their control matrix. They want to tell people that this is something you have become. This is how the world is. The world is, you just take the pills, just do what we tell you, eat the McDonald's hamburger laced with, flesh, human flesh. No. You've become this. They want to enslave us. See, and what you're doing, bringing truths to people, allows them to rise up in vibration, in status, in perspective, and see what's really going on and realize this is not arthritis, diabetes, cancer. It doesn't matter. It's not something that is in me. It's something that happened to me. And thus, knowing that gives you then the power to change it. You say to me, this is a deep state plot. You're right. It's a deep state plot to bring us all completely and utterly under submission so that they can ultimately do what they really want to do. And that is to have a small group of us that work for them and eliminate the rest. Because they want this earth, they being the ultimate they, the top of the satanic thing that runs, or used to, I don't think they do anymore, but that runs the whole banana. They want this world that God has given for us. It was created for man. That's what the earth was created for. This beautiful universe was given to us, not to them, but they believe it's theirs by birth. They deserve it because they're a Rockefeller, a Rothschild. They somehow deserve it. And we're just peons, vermin. That's what it is.
Absolutely. No, definitely. So when you say that we can pass the energy to others, we've got so much, we can have so much love and high vibrations and frequencies and truth.
Absolutely true.
But how can I physically or spiritually pass that to someone else?
Well, I'm going to do it right now, and I'm going to show you.
Okay.
Okay. This is one of the things that God kind of showed me very early on when I was starting to learn this. So one of the things I used to do is I didn't know if people even knew if I was praying for them or not. I wasn't praying out loud. So I would just put my hands like I did. I would massage people and I put my hands on people, my patients, and I work on them. And then I would, in my mind, I would pray for them like I'm going to pray right now that I'm right now imagining in my mind that I'm touching your neck, the back of your neck, your lower part of your neck, right above your shoulders with my hand. Okay. When I would do that with patients, they could feel warmth. I didn't know that, but they would say, "What are you doing?" Well, what do you mean? What am I doing? Well, you tell me. Well, suddenly your hand feels warm. I can feel that warmth in your case, in my neck. I can almost feel it right now, even as we're talking about it. I'm not touching your neck, but I'm imagining that I am. What am I doing? Am I praying? I'm not praying to God. I am, but I am. What I'm doing is my intent is that energy in the spirit. In the spirit, right here, right now, you're here with me. We're together because there is no differential. There is no time and space in the spirit. Okay? We are all one spirit. So in the spirit, I can touch your neck. My spiritual is much greater than the physical, than the mental, than the experiential, which is infinitely greater than that little ping pong ball of electron sitting there. But in the spirit, I can basically, and so can you, when you reach out and touch somebody, and it doesn't have to be all, "Oh God, let me put my hands on him and no, it's you put your hand and with your mind, you want to bring, not through Nicholas, not through Peter Cola, God, this energy that he's created into, in your particular case, your upper back and your lower neck. And that's what I'm thinking about right now, delivering godly healing and love. Call it whatever you want. Love, healing, kindness, peace, joy, happiness. It doesn't matter. A nice cool glass of water. It's all the same. Mm-hmm. It's just energy. But what's different is the intent. The intent is the difference. And when I intend to implement kindness, goodness, peace, joy, love, it doesn't matter, to your neck. And not only just to the surface, but I'm talking about inside, in the actual vertebrae, right where all the action is happening. Because a lot of times where people are hurting, that's where they were attacked, in those particular places. So it leaves a sort of battlefield. After the attack leaves and it's gone, long gone, they're left with this mess. And that's what they interpret as sicknesses that they have. No, those are just the aftermath of the attack. Easily cleaned up when you know how to clean it. You just apply one of many godly truths, where the touch is just one. The spoken word is another. Water, a nice, isudo imudo, with the water drinking and the positive, you've heard about that?
Yeah.
And that I use that all the time. Try to get patients to put positive intent into the water. Mm-hmm. And the water is, we're primarily made up of water, 70%. So if it can happen with a glass of water, it certainly can happen with you. Mm-hmm. So speaking this positiveness, not through Peter Cola, I didn't make this. No, God did. Allows then your water to react in a positive way, like Isuro Imudo talked about in his videos. Very good, great videos. I know you can never pronounce his name properly, but that's fine. And that's how you do it. That's how you do it. That's how you do it when you bring truths. And the people who take those truths in, they heal in the process, because ever so slightly with every truth, our vibration goes up. That's the intensity of vibration, the amplitude. When you add those vibrations in, increases of vibration increases the amplitude. Likewise, decreases or negative energies, darkness, blood drinkers, curses, they reduce your attacks, sicknesses, reduce your energies and ground you. You don't want to be grounded. You want to fly. We don't want to ground. We're flying when our vibration goes up. We got an entity of the spirit, and there's only one way. It's up. With every truth, we go higher and higher and higher and higher.
And the more we experience this lovely vibration and we find inner peace, the more that we don't want to take, to have a drink at a party, for an example, because before the old way was, have a drink, get a bit tipsy or merry, and I'll have a good time. But I don't need that anymore to have a good time, because I've found it within me.
Of course. Well, and it doesn't mean you can't have a glass of wine with dinner, or something like that. But what was the purpose we were doing that before? See, that decreasing when you drink a lot of alcohol, it basically numbs you. So you have less spiritual accessibility, but you also almost like your confidence almost goes up. Well, why is that? Why does the confidence go up? Confidence, so we're not as afraid of our own self-image as we might have been before. Okay. You get the drinker's courage. Suddenly everybody's a Superman the minute they start drinking a bunch of beers. Okay. But that grounding, that almost self-destructive, self-grounding kind of scenario, which actually makes you more susceptible to attacks. Stupid, suddenly I'm drinking a bunch of beers. Now I'm stupid. So, hey, big guy over in the corner, I'm at it. I'm going to show him who's boss. You're susceptible to attack. You're going to do something dumb. Okay. As you start going up in vibration, you realize that life that I had before, it's not that you don't want to enjoy life. Yes, you want to enjoy life, but you're realizing that wasn't enjoyment. Okay. So the party scene, the bar, is no longer a part. It's not what it used to be, because you look at I wasn't exactly having fun. No, now I'm having fun because I look around and I can see the enjoyment of the life around me. I don't have to go to the bar to find it. I can find it everywhere. It doesn't mean you can't go to the bar and watch a game on the telly and have a good beer with the boys while you watch your favorite soccer game. Why not? But you're above that. You see, you're not there for the fight. You're there for the enjoyment of seeing God's creation and seeing the happiness on your friends' faces when the goal is made, or the pleasure of God's creation that He gave this nice glass of beer that you can just enjoy without the purpose of numbing your brain, but just say, okay, I'm having a great time with this, among other things. See, ascension doesn't mean you have to become a monk. Ascension means that you actually can reach out and enjoy the world the way it was meant to be enjoyed, completely. And not just with a pinpoint, not just your little toe. Oh, finally, my little toe feels better. Oh, thank God it feels better. Your whole life becomes your little toe when you're injured, when the injury occurs. Okay? You've got to step beyond it and say, I'm done with the attack. Okay. I'm moving on with life.
Absolutely.
Little toe will if it's meant to get better, God will make it better. It's fine.
Well, Peter Koller, thank you very, very much. It's an absolute honor to have you here. It's very important with what you're speaking about, because that's where we're going in the future, where the Earth is going through a change, as our universe is too. And because we are part of the Earth and God, the creator of all, our DNA is going to be upgraded, which is part of the ascension process as well. And we need to be aware of all of this, and it's great stuff. So is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish, and your main message to the viewers?
The main message is fear not. Everything that's out there, that the deep state, that all of these, these things, it's all designed for fear purposes. And see, and we are told more than anything else in the Bible that we are to fear not. And there's a reason for that. Fear attracts attack. Anybody who's ever hunted, and I've done some hunting, and I don't know if you've ever been out in the field, or maybe even, when you're afraid, the animal attacks 100% of the time, because the animals, they can smell fear. And especially the negative ones, the ones that are to a degree attracted to fear, they feed off of fear, will, like sicknesses and diseases and demons, they feed off of fear. That's why fear is what they propagated into this whole comorbid thing. See, they wanted people to be afraid, and then that fear attracts the attacks. Okay. I've had dozens of patients who've come into my offices, and their spouse is the one who's afraid. And it usually ends up that the spouse gets the very thing that they're afraid of, because they are so fearful of it happening with their children or their husband, that they're the one that actually ends up getting it and having the real problems with it. So fear not. I have, like I said, I've been doing this. I have started a little channel. It's called Spiritual Therapies with Anna and Peter Koller. But, most of the time, Nino he just publishes the stuff and puts it on his Nino's Corner. So but anybody who's interested, they can see that. And like I said, they can check out our books. They're available on Amazon, the Quantum Ascension and the Heal Yourself for God's Sake. But for the most part, thank you for having me. And by the way, I think I'm scheduled for another one in about a week and a half. So
nice. Well, Peter, thank you very, very much. I'll be happily glad to put your links below in the description, so the viewers can have a look at your books. They can even have a look at your channel.
Do I just email those to you, or what?
Just email them over.
All right, brother. Thank you. And you know what? And again, like I said, thank you for, you've been a big fan of mine. Charlie Ward, Simon Parks. I mean, those guys, I would love to talk to those guys too. It's just like, but Mel K, you guys are, you're the ones that are on the front lines, bringing these truths, risking your neck. And it's like, I've been doing it kind of behind the scenes, fighting the deep state, risking your neck too. But you guys are up in front, and so, hey, you're my hero.
I've given up. No, you're very welcome. And I've given up on having fun and enjoying my life. I'm here for the truth, and I'm ready to go whenever. I'm here to fight.
Let me tell you something. I practiced for 25 years before, and I treated thousands of patients. And then I started putting God into the situation. I started speaking truths to people. And finally, one man came to me after all those years of practicing. And he came to me and he walked in my office. He said, "You saved my life." What do you mean you saved my life? I mean, physical therapy, we have such low malpractice insurance because it's not life-threatening. I mean, exercise, how can nobody's going to die from an exercise unless they fall off a machine, but it's very, So, but how did he go, "No, what you did, what this did, it helped me when all the doctors told me I was going to die. Your care, your outlook, the God outlook allowed me to be healed. You saved my life." That was more important to me than all the bars, all the drinks, all the fun. A man walked up to me and said, "You saved my life. Nicholas, you know how many people's lives you saved? You have saved thousands by spreading your truths. And your people need to realize when they receive that gift, they're obligated to spread it to someone else. That's part of the gift. You're saving lives. What better fun in this world than to save lives? Man, I'm envious. You're having fun.
Well, I'm glad.
Hey, you're having a great time. What are you talking about?
Oh, I love what I do. I feel complete with the truth. Absolutely. I love it.
Absolutely.
I'm glad that if you know, but you know, but thank you, Peter Koller. It's been absolutely amazing. And we'll catch up again very soon. God bless you.
Absolutely. Bless you, brother. Take care.